Christopher Foster set an image of a loving husband and a devoted father. Neighbors remembered him as always laughing and cuddling with his bubbly 49-year-old wife Jill, and how he doted on his 15-year-old horse-mad daughter Kirsty. His daughter loved the horses her father bought her. But she knew better than to get on the wrong side of his very quick temper. He was known in the village as the millionaire. He'd made his money in the oil business. In 1987, Christopher was just an ordinary bloke from Burnley, married, with a sales job. The next year, the Piper Alpha oil platform explosion killed 167 men. Christopher seized the moment. He invented and patented a new chemical formula for oil rig insulation. Christopher started to collect classic cars. His collection became a fleet. He had 2 Porsches, an Aston Martin, a 4x4 for his wife. And to go with his country estate he had a tractor, 3 horses and 4 dogs. In 2004, he'd been worth $10 million, but by 2005 his vast spending was outstripping his income. Christopher's company went into compulsory liquidation in September 2007. His salary was stopped and a $3 million freezing order was put on his assets. On top of all this, he owed the Inland Revenue nearly £1 million. For not only was Christopher a bad businessman and a big spender, he was a poor taxpayer. He didn't pay VAT, national insurance, or indeed much tax of any kind. Christopher had started to lose control. Christopher's hobby was clay pigeon shooting, which is why he was allowed to own guns. Jill used to say he was a control freak. He had to be in total control of everything. Bailiffs pinned a letter to the gates of the house. In the week before he died, Christopher looked online at websites dealing with suicide and looked through old photo albums of him and his family. It's not known if by this point he had planned that Monday the 25th of August 2008 would be the last one of his life. It was a bank holiday Monday on the 25th of August 2008 that the Foster family enjoyed their last day together. Christopher Foster, his wife Jill and daughter Kirsty attended the gated mansion of John Hughes. Hughes, a millionaire luxury car dealer, was having a barbecue and clay pigeon shoot. Christopher spent the afternoon doing exactly that. Later, he said to Jill, "I've had enough. I want to go home." They returned in her black Range Rover. Jill went to bed first. After midnight, his daughter Kirsty chatted to a friend online. That ended when Christopher turned the internet off. Soon after, Kirsty went to sleep. Her father then fitted a silencer to a .22 rifle. It is likely that Christopher Foster shot his wife first. He shot her in the back of her head in her bedroom. Foster then crossed the hallway to his daughter's bedroom. He also shot his daughter in the back of the head. Foster then calmly set about destroying everything that could be burnt. It is estimated that he flooded his mansion with 200 gallons of oil. He spread the accelerant and oil-soaked rags throughout the house to ensure the fire took hold. At 3:09 a.m., CCTV footage showed Mr. Foster set fire to his luxury home. He then killed all the family animals. He shot dead the dogs and the horses. As with his family, he shot all the animals in the head. He also jammed the horsebox against the entrance gate and shot out the tires. He then returned home. As the flames burnt through his house, he climbed the stairs one last time. He lay down next to the wife he'd shot. He brought a loaded gun with him. But he did not shoot himself. Nor did the flames burn him alive. Instead, smoke inhalation kills him. Neighbors rang the emergency services. The first fire crew arrived at 4:29 a.m. But they first have to move the horsebox out of the way. By the time they can get close enough, there is little they can do but contain the scene. The heat from the flames was so intense that all emergency services are unable to attempt entering. For the police, it was equally frustrating. Vital evidence was being destroyed before the investigators' very eyes. 2 burnt bodies are found together, top to tail. It is later concluded that they died on the same bed and it had collapsed 3 floors down to the ground floor. In total, 12 fire crews dealt with the fire. And it took investigators 7 days just to remove all the bodies. The CCTV captured the shooting of a horse. It showed Foster setting on fire his stables. It showed Foster driving the horse box that he used to block the emergency services. Preventative measures such as improved communication between doctors and police forces, firearms officers in the future could help stop a similar tragedy happening to another family. The Foster family were laid to rest on the 19th of December 2008. The relatives decided to hold separate funerals. The first was for Kirsty and Jill. A few hours later, Christopher was buried. The site where the Foster family house stood has now been cleared.
Basically, I need the police and the ambulance and that because I've killed 4 people.
Okay, just hold the line. Bear with me.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Alright, come to me.
Right,
Mate, have you got anything on you that you shouldn't have?
no, there's no weapons or nothing.
Right.
Do you just want to undo your coat? Have you armed yourself?
Yeah.
You have.
Have you stabbed yourself, mate?
I can see blood on your hands.
Yeah.
Anywhere else?
Just my chest, 4 inches in with a bread knife.
Can we have a look?
Yeah, and 1 on the stomach. I bled quite.
Right, do you want?
I bled quite a lot.
Yeah.
Can we go down
No, just stay there.
I just don't want to be in front of everyone.
Alright, just round the corner.
Just walking wounded at the minute.
Alright, stand here. Stay here.
Right,
So,
we told you, I know what's going to happen to you now, mate.
Well, I know it's going to happen when
just-
we go to prison, obviously, but again.
Why, what have you done? Have you done something to anyone else?
Yeah,
What have you done?
I've murdered 4 people.
Damien Bendall, 32, killed his 4 victims with a claw hammer at a house in Derbyshire in 2021. He pleaded guilty to murdering his girlfriend Terry Harris, 35, whom was pregnant, her son John Bennett, 13, daughter Lacey Bennett, 11, and Lacey's 11-year-old friend Connie Gent, whom was stopping over for a sleepover. He also pleaded guilty to raping Connie's friend Lacey. Ms. Harris and the children were found dead at a house in Chandos Crescent, Kilmarsh, on the 19th of September, having been killed on the evening of the 18th of September. The defendant attacked them using a claw hammer which he used to hit them over the head and on the upper body. It was perfectly clear none of the victims stood a chance. Bendall and Ms. Harris had been in a relationship, having met on a dating app after her relationship with her children's father ended. On the morning of the 19th of September, police arrived at the house, having been alerted by Bendall's mother, as he told her he had stabbed himself. In police bodycam footage he could be seen speaking to officers outside the house, telling them calmly, "I've murdered 4 people, and I'm going back to prison." Police initially did not believe him, but an officer found all 4 bodies when he went inside. He found John, 13, first, lying naked on the floor of the bathroom, as he had been due to have a shower before Bendall attacked him. He then found Ms. Harris and her daughter in the main bedroom. Terry was on the floor but Lacey was found on the bed. Forensic evidence had indicated that Bendall attacked and raped Lacey downstairs before moving her upstairs, where he then raped her again. He also used some kind of ligature around her neck, and this contributed to her death along with the head injuries. Connie, who was over with Lacey for a sleepover that night, was found dead in another bedroom. Damien Bendall, who was under the influence of cannabis and cocaine, had left the house after the murders, taking John's games console with him in order to sell it for drugs. He was arrested and taken to hospital, but the wounds he had inflicted on himself only required stitches. He was then interviewed by police, telling them, "I used to hammer. I did not realize what I did until I walked into my room and saw my missus and my daughter." Damien Bendel had known that Ms. Harris was pregnant when he killed her, because he also told police, "Bet you don't usually get 4 murders in Killamarsh, do you?" "Well, I mean 5, 'cause my missus was having a baby." Bendel, 32, admitted the charges at Derby Crown Court, where he was sentenced. He was given a whole life order, meaning he will never be released from prison, except in exceptional compassionate circumstances. Victim personal statements from relatives of the victims were read to the court by the prosecution. Angela Smith, Ms. Harris's mother, said, "Terry, Lacey and John meant the world to me and were the most precious people in my life. Not being able to give them a kiss and a hug and tell them I love them breaks my heart." She recalled her grandchildren telling her they were scared of monsters when they were younger. "I told them there's no such thing as monsters, but how wrong I was," she said. Jason Bennett, John and Lacey's father, said their murders had destroyed and taken my life away. "I am living in a continual nightmare," his statement said. "I have a story in my head of how they died. I live their trauma and feel their pain. It feels like a recurring punishment." He recalled how Lacey and Connie had been selling sweets for charity on the day they died, describing his daughter as kind and caring. John would not hurt a fly, literally. If he saw an insect he would carefully put it outside, he said. Charles Gent, Connie's father, said his daughter's murder had completely torn my life apart. "The man who carried out the crimes can only be described as truly evil and should never be free from incarceration, just like the families of the victims in this case will never be free from their life sentence as a result of the shocking and abhorrent crimes he committed on a defenseless woman and children. He has been sentenced to a whole life prison term."